Thank you for coming to the Q4 Strategies, How to Apply Lessons Learned from COVID session. My name is PK Sindwani, and I'm the CFO for American Booksellers Association. And as most of you know, before that, I was a bookseller for 29 years. And with me is Nicole. Nicole, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, Nicole Magistro. I'm the former owner of the Bookworm in Edwards, Colorado. Owned that bookstore near Vail and Beaver Creek for 15 years, and I'm just on the other side, 6 weeks after closing. So Q4 has been very much present in my mind, and I'm looking forward to talking with PK and sharing our thoughts about different strategies that we can apply, great examples that we have from Q2 and Q3. Looking back, we all did so well. And, you know, it didn't always feel that way, we know. And we want to share with you some of the highlights, things that went well, so that we can apply those to the Q4, reduce the overall anxiety, and really make sure that everyone has a plan as soon as possible. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah. So these strategies, these are not only good for Q4, they are good strategies right, from now onwards. There are a lot of lessons that we learned. So the first of the biggest one that surprised me and didn't surprise me was website. Business has changed so much that in the last 6 months, according to our statistics at ABA, our web sales have gone up by 2,193%. Just think about it, 2,193%. Not having a website is not even an option anymore. As you can see, 80% of the stores are saying that their business went, 46% of the stores saying that the business went up 80% or more. And then most of them have at least 10% and up growth. Even the average ticket has gone up to about, it's gone up by $3.23. So not only people are buying, more people are spending more per ticket. And the other thing that we noticed is there's been a 15% increase in the number of users. So you're also picking up same thing, we're picking more customers. Not only these customers, you're picking additional customers that are shopping online. And the other thing I would say is this trend will probably, take my example, for example. I hardly ever shopped online. I hated shopping online. But now I get everything online and do either a curbside pickup or have it come in. Would I go back? I'm not sure. I think I'll do the combination. I will still support local businesses, but I will shop online more. So I would say this trend is for here to stay. Having a robust website is the biggest lesson.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, our models are shifting, and we, of course, feel the exhaustion from that. But we also need to acknowledge that a greater percentage of our overall sales will come from our websites and from online sales. And so we need to rethink our models in terms of, what opportunities are there. So the next slide will show you that, we all know what those concerns are. I'm not going to hash these out. But what I would like to, point out is that we kind of have divided this presentation into 3 areas of concern and 3 areas of solutions. So we'll talk about inventory supply chain issues from the publisher perspectives, warehouses, shippers, health and safety of our local communities, our staff, and our customers. And then we'll also talk about that burnout feeling and how we can apply some of the lessons we've learned to the store leader level, the frontline staff, and customers. We want to make sure we provide some framework for all of these, as well as some really good examples of how people have shown resiliency and made money from the different things we faced. So let's start focusing on some of the action plan. On the next slide, you'll see some real life examples that exist in each area. So we're going to talk about the hybrid stock position that we feel is a good approach for moving ahead, identifying focus titles that will work for your store. Of course, we know bestsellers, there'll be tremendous increased demand for those bestsellers, but what are the focus titles for your store? Looking back at some of your POS data, looking back at bestseller lists from previous fourth quarters, and then adding in some of the things we now know how to do well, like contactless services, website sales, strengthening our email sales tools, and using social media to engage with sales some of the time. For health and safety, we're talking about, really trying to encourage stores to get open and stay open as safely as possible. What we do know from the COVID survey that the ABA put out in July was that those stores who are proactive and have found ways to continue to sell are the ones that are performing the closest to normal. And we do know that about 25% of stores who answered that survey, and there were almost 400 stores who answered the survey, are actually up. So how can we repeat that? We want to talk about the plans that you might need to be in place, and we know there have been some great emergency planning sessions already at the conference, so if you didn't attend those, please make sure you check that out. And remember, you're in retail, so use the skills that you have honed and built all these years to fall back on. And don't forget that your customers are looking forward to seeing you. And then taking care of yourself and your staff. So creating shorter shifts, rethinking your schedule, develop cross-training for your staff, and make sure to do two things again we learned how to do and now we can verify and improve on. So make sure your virtual capabilities are at full capacity and that you know who can do what from where and when. And also consider hiring an online bookseller, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. All right, so in the next slide, the first thing that I want to do is tell you guys a little bit about some of these best practice slides coming up. I did a survey of as many stores as I could in your regions in order to get to know what stores were doing and how they were doing it well. So if we proceed to the leverage personal connection slide, which is slide number 6, you'll see that we have some great examples of folks who are leveraging all kinds of personality on their social media. We're going to see a lot of social media posts just because that's very accessible, but we'll try to close the circle between social media and everything else we do. So one example, Sundog did a beautiful tribute to the author Julia Reed. This was one of their most highly liked and engaged with posts. We also have Brave and Kind Books, a kids bookstore where the owner is really stepping out here. She's really saying hello to the community and engaging in a really beautiful way. And this got major results, as did the Waldo campaign of the Commonplace Reader, showcasing other small businesses and other local businesses where Waldo was hanging around. So these are all different ways you can leverage those personal connections that can result in that feel good connection with your customers you want to cultivate. And if you play the video there from the Midtown Reader, I just want to share this with everyone as a bit of inspiration. We click on the play button there. I hope that will work. We might have to come back to it at the end. So one of the things that I think is really important about making sure that when you're in your local you're engaged, right? Here we go, perfect. You can turn the sound on. Well, we're having trouble. We can come back to that later. If you haven't seen this Midtown Reader video, it's totally brilliant. So kudos to you guys for leveraging those personal feel-good connections. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about how to connect all that social media you might be doing to sales. So this is an important thing to think about, and we're going to continue to focus on sales as much as possible. Use the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, your social media should be engaging your customers, informing them, getting them excited. But 20% of the time, you should be focused on sales. And when you do that, results can happen. So there's a few great examples here from Pyramid Books, who did a repost from a customer using the hashtag #ShopBlack, show your receipts. It was a great hashtag that got them a lot of results. And you'll see similarly for Books and Crannies, a coupon code being used to promote their anniversary sale. Again, very effective use of that. And Eagle Eye Books, there are direct links to sell display and event books right in the post. So these are different types of sales tools you can use within your social media. Again, about 20% of the time, you want to make sure that social media is working for you. Lesson we learned, we were all posting like mad. Some things worked and some things didn't. So in Q2 and Q3, look back at those. As painful as that sometimes will feel when we're reliving those memories, actually look at the stats. Which ones engaged? Which posts drove sales? And try to repeat that. So in our discussion about sales, we also want to make sure we have plans that are sales focused, not just sort of on the top. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see that there's a great example from the bookshelf where not only are they posting these cool gifts that they have in the store or that they have available to their customers, but the actual gift is available on their website to purchase, and then we can see the results in a later social post. We want to make sure that all your non-book that you want to promote is available to purchase. If you can do it through your website, whether this is a Squarespace site, or through Indie Commerce or through Bookshop, make sure that those sales and all the campaigns are focused on, is there a way to buy it through the website? And if not, consider how you will direct those sales. Is it a phone call or an email? But again, a call to action is really important. And we're going to talk a little bit next about kind of the inventory and supply chain issues that come with all of that. So PK, take it away. You need to unmute yourself, PK.
Oh, thank you. Well, Nicole gets to talk about all the fun stuff, and I get to talk about the operational, boring stuff that you have to do, unfortunately. And one other thing is, we already talked about being proactive on inventory search. And I just want to elaborate that a little bit more on proactive, meaning I noticed a lot of the people were telling on a lot of the coffee sessions at ABA that they are doing just-in-time inventory, which means they are just buying new books every month, which could be good, but at the same time, it could be dangerous because publishers are having a lot of supply and inventory issue. So what we recommend is a hybrid model. So books, for example, Barack Obama's book, it is something that you do not want to be without. So things like that, get those titles, make sure you order enough of them because they're only very limited printing facilities that all the publishers are going to. So you may not be able to replace them. So first thing is make sure you get ahead of the supply and order those things. Communicate with your rep. Make sure you're you're in terms with all major publishers. Talk to your credit rep. Let them know what your strategy is, if you're able to make payments right away, or if there's a payment plan you can work out. I have worked out a cash flow worksheet that I can send it to anybody that wants it. It's good to have a cash flow model every time, but it is especially good this time because you want to make sure that you don't get no publisher stops you at the fourth quarter. That'd be the last thing you want to do. So the best thing is to revisit your cash flow model and change it every week or bi-weekly. Forecast what let's say if your store is running 20% low, forecast that based on your previous 6 weeks, 8 weeks history and be current. Sometimes you could even go to the bank and ask for a temporary line of credit, which is good to have. Also, most people, not only fourth quarter, are all now shopping with credit card. So what that means is, and that's the lesson we learned the hard way at ABA, all of a sudden our credit card volume went up 1,000, 2,000%. And the credit card merchant was suspecting fraud and they stopped depositing money to our account. We had to go back and tell them what's the situation, that it's because of the increased volume. So make sure you communicate with your credit card vendor to make sure that they expect the extra volume that you will have. Create a plan for a backup plan, use Ingram, Bookazine, or any other wholesaler that you know of. Thank you.
Yeah, PK, I'll add to that. I've been thinking a little bit about the fourth quarter in two ways, and I don't know how everyone in the room is feeling, but I think there's sort of two schools of thought. One is bullish. I need to have everything. I'm going to buy everything as upfront as possible. I'm going to try to predict my best sellers. And then there's also a conservative viewpoint. I'm not sure if I'm in the position to be able to do that. I don't know if I want to take the risk. I'm not sure about returns, that might happen with those. So what we do know is that the stores that are already performing at either above where they were last year, or at least in the 10 to 20% down, those best performing stores right now are the proactive stores. So we would definitely encourage you to consider going big on at least the key titles you feel are going to be best for your store, and really think through that carefully. In our store, we always ran a series of multiple reports to show us what were the best sellers in each quarter of the year so far, what were the best sellers from fourth quarter last year, and what do we predict? And then we would use those as metrics to buy and use those publisher codes, use as much of your leverage as you can. If you're on the conservative side, then, again, we want to make sure you're really, you're going to maximize the profit that you have on every sale. So, be careful with thinking about which vendors and when, and how much you're going to rely on the shipper's timeliness. The other thing I would consider encouraging you to do, or not consider, but I'd encourage you to do, is to think very clearly about stale stock and returns, and try to turn some of that into cash flow and space on your shelf sooner rather than later. There's two links that are embedded in the presentation here that I'll encourage you to read more about later. Jill Hendricks from Fiction Addiction It has a great article about buying in the fourth quarter on her blog, and that's a live link there. She's got a great profit plan for both types of approaches, so I would definitely encourage everyone to read that blog post. It's quite thorough. And then also make sure you're checking out the ABA's free, I call these hands-free marketing materials. The Buy Early October is the new December digital asset package that came out yesterday. Please make sure that's free to you. You're welcome to use it. It's a hands-free option that helps communicate the issues to your customers. So moving on, email marketing is, I think, one of the most effective sales tools, and there are several products out there to help us. So we're going to breeze over these quickly, but I do want to point out some of the best practices I've noticed. Here are two examples from Kizzy's in Winter Garden and also from Fountain Bookstore. Two different platforms. We have a custom email service. Kizzy's uses Matchbook Marketing. Some of you may also use MailChimp, as my store did, or Constant Contact. Total flexibility here. You get to decide everything about your email, including if you want to customize content and about other things besides books. Kelly from Fountain Bookstore used the pre-order blast from Shelf Awareness. That's an example here. These emails are now totally customizable for the pre-order campaigns, and I would definitely encourage you to take a look at that if you're not already using it, especially if you're looking for a low labor, hands-free kind of email solution. These emails are helping to drive sales. And then on the next slide, you'll see some examples from Edelweiss 360, the new program from Above the Tree Line, which creates targeted campaigns. And these are really best-in-class examples from Bookmarks in Winston-Salem and Fiction Addiction. 360 is potentially, in my opinion, one of the most powerful tools we've seen, because at our fingertips, it sort of allows us to merge all that data that we know about our customers with titles. So without having to do extensive reporting over and over out of our POS systems. And, it's a great industry knowledge. It's kind of like having that buyer in the back room who buys for specific customers, or if that's you because you're the owner and you know everybody, but it does the work for you. So, really the amazing metrics here, and those stores who are using this platform are seeing tremendous results. You see across the top, you get immediate open rates, click rates, conversions on those specific titles, as well as these what they call halo purchases. Those are books that are purchased outside of that specific title but alongside it. And then also the P10, those are all the purchases made by those customers in a 10-day period. So super detailed information. Make sure you're merging all of the ways in which you collect emails into one program. This is the lesson I've learned from surveying all these email campaigns, is the right hand needs to talk to the left, which is to say, when we collect email, whether that's through our POS, through our Eventbrite, whether it's through our websites, social media, any ways that we collect them, they all need to go to a single place. And the import functions are there in some of these programs to allow you to do that, but that data is gold. And leveraging it is what will help you set sales goals that are tied to email efforts and see results. So make sure whatever platforms you are using, you are measuring those results and merging all of your lists. I can't emphasize that enough. Next slide, we're going to talk about some website best practices. We all know from PK's initial survey that web sales are tremendously up. So we're going to go through a couple of best practices. Many stores are using Bookshop in tandem with their existing website. Main Street Reads has a great example of this on their homepage, where they have a bookshop link right there, along with their awesome video. I love that Main Street Reads video as well. It's just a great way to continue to offer the website that you always have and all the robust and personal information with that online selling platform. Bookshop is doing puzzles. I see a lot of booksellers with puzzle lists. That is a fantastic idea, as well as journals, planners, calendars. These types of non-book are available as custom lists now on Bookshop. And then I love the other, there's two more examples here. One from New Dominion, who I just think their list creation is very clever. And I think that goes a long way in being elevated to the top of the Bookshop lists along the way, or kind of being for your lists to be able to be found by other people who are browsing in Bookshop. And again, pulling in new customers. And then Wordplay, they have some super fun list making as well, and a lot of thematic work around the Appalachian Trail, etc. So again, play to your strengths here. Show your personality. That matters. The conversion rate is fantastic on Bookshop, which is a definite positive, and the margin, I know a lot of stores are using to their advantage. So that 30% margin can be helpful. If you are a non-Bookshop store at this time, please make sure you are at least in the pool. The payout for the first period for my store was over $1,000. And I do not have a bookshop. I did not have a Bookshop site at that time. So remember, this is money that is part of our channel. And again, best practice, collect it. On the next slide, we are going to go through some indie commerce best practices as well. I love Prince Books' hilarious little line. It might be too small here to see, but they use this informative humor. They say, so in other words, this holiday season will be typical of 2020. Basically, they're warning their customers of all the things that might go wrong and to shop early. So great job doing that with humor and grace. Here are some best practices that indie commerce is seeing. Conversion rates are up tremendously. They were 1% last year. They're 6% right now. We are selling books on indie commerce. Sales are way up on indie commerce and indie commerce Lite. And the margin is certainly variable depending on the different fulfillment options that you offer. But make sure that you have PayPal enabled in your shopping cart. This will increase sales through your indie commerce site. Firsthand knowledge. I heard that tip from Robert Sindelar. We did it, and within 30 days, our web sales had increased 20%, and that was pre-COVID. Enable the donate button. This donate button can appear on your homepage. It can appear just in the shopping cart, wherever you choose to put it, but your customers who want to support you will donate if they are given the opportunity. So enable that. Make sure, of course, you have Libro FM and Hummingbird enabled. That capture, email capture pop-up we've been talking about for some time. And some of the other methods that also will help you convert interest to sales include discount codes, free shipping incentives. Those are things you need to weigh carefully with profit. Very, very important point there to make sure you do the analysis before you start offering blanket free shipping, for example. Make sure that also you audit and confirm all the information on your website is correct, and that you're constantly updating any hours or expectations around health and safety for your customers. They are going to your websites to look for this information. They expect to be able to easily find it. So make sure that that's there. And then next slide, we're just going to do a quick example of some of those things in real life. This is from Northshire Books. Again, making sure all of your online sales tools are working, they're going smoothly, and they're ready for a spiking order volume. So in other words, are these expandable? Do they adapt if you have a lot more traffic? And then the second lesson in all of the website best practices talk is, does your homepage focus on what you want your customers to buy? This is a question to ask yourself. Look at it like your customer does. Does your homepage point them to what you want them to buy? This is a very important lesson, and I would urge you to ask those familiar and unfamiliar with your website that question so that you can manipulate it and maximize your sales. All right, we know a lot about contactless options as well. That's on the next slide. We've all gotten really good at those things. The best things we've gotten good at are memberships and subscriptions, I think. This is an amazing growth area for independent bookstores. If you're not doing this already, this is something you might want to shoot for in 2021. If you are doing it, does your website highlight it? Is it easy for your customers to find it and purchase those memberships or subscriptions? We are all pretty good about the gift cards, finding gift cards and selling gift cards through our website. So using that model, that might give you some ideas. I'll also say curbside pickup has been a tremendous asset for all of us. So I would say continue to use those methods as much as possible. Here's two examples of social media posts which do two things. Not only do they inform customers about the subscription and membership programs and curbside pickup, all these contactless options, they remind, but they also serve a operational goal. In loyalty bookstores example, they are reminding customers to come pick those things up. They've been sitting there for a while. It's getting to be full over there. Operationally, we want for our customers to show up and pick up their stuff. So great job there. And then Bookshelf shows this sort of like FOMO image of, oh my gosh, look at all these amazing books going out. But again, they're notifying those customers of when the books are going out and when to expect them en masse. Great job on both of those dual purposes being achieved. All right, so PK and I are back on Abacus for the next slide, and this is Payroll, although we're going to talk about it as a staffing for a changed model. So we know that Abacus guides us. Abacus would love for our payrolls to be 20% or so. This can be very difficult in a rising wage market, but I would argue that this time period is an opportunity in staffing to both raise wages and reduce your overall payroll. Think carefully about staffing for what you really need and not just for who you have. And that might mean scheduling differently. That might mean hiring, as Politics and Prose is doing right now for a web order bookseller. I think this is absolutely brilliant. And it's a great example of hiring for what you need. And PK also talked a little bit about his observation of adjusting business hours and cross-training and those kinds of things.
Yeah, so one of the things that I notice is, and a lot of the states actually require that you have shorter hours. So this is a good time to look at your traffic patterns and adjust your hours accordingly. And the other thing is you may want to schedule for shorter shifts, have maybe 2 people so everybody gets more hours. And at the same time, also cross-training people in case there's another lockdown, make sure everybody's equipped to work from home. That everybody, I know most POS systems allow you to log in from home, but I don't know if everybody trains all their staff if they're equipped to work from home. So that is something to think about in case there's another lockdown. Make sure your staff knows how to log in and work from home if possible. And other thing I want to say is some of the people, I want to go back and talk about those options. Some of the people are doing in-home delivery. And we all heard great things about post office this year. So if you can also offer in-home delivery. I know my store, Drew, is offering the in-home delivery, and he says people are very happy about that. That takes the uncertainty about, making sure the books will get there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, I think that when it comes to looking at our models, again, as owners, as managers, and as frontline staff, we're all exhausted, right, from this changing model. But there are opportunities in it to drive more profit to your business. And right now, this is what we are encouraging everyone to take a hard look at, because we want you to be here in 2021 and 2022. And you have got to find ways. And I see in the chat that there's a lot of requests for the cash flow worksheet. And we're going to go to the next slide, and we'll show you that's actually embedded right in our presentation. And after the show is over, this presentation will be posted on the New Rooms section, and you'll be able to access all of this, including PK's cash flow projection seminar, which he did, and some budgeting. So let's go to that. This is what I call the if, when I can sleep at night plan.
So, I did, and I did different scenarios. I looked at Abacus from last year and looked at things, costs that are going up. For example, I know a lot of us had to resort to direct to home delivery from Ingram, which is usually not as profitable as picking up from store. So we did a combination of what the cost of sales is these days, combination of getting from publisher, curbside delivery, or just sending directly from Ingram. And then some of the costs are expensive. For example, most people are charging, so credit card sales have gone up. So based on that, I prepared a forecasting. And then you can plug in and see if your business is 20% down or 20%, 40% down. You could see at different cash scenarios what the cash flow will look like. That you can also, if you haven't done that, you could also use that as a tool to talk to your landlord, and maybe plan for the future, line of credit, and anything else that, this will guide your future for that, or even how you could see that you're planning for the staff and everything else.
Yeah, I think this tool is awesome for a few different reasons too. If you want to adjust a certain part of your business during this time, you can use it. It's very responsive. And the other thing, to keep in mind is if you have not documented some sort of emergency plan, the plan that you put in place when we first were locked down, or throughout the various stages of your own municipality or state's guidelines, I would really encourage you to do that. The emergency business plan that is here shows, different phases, all the different topics, but you want to make sure that, you're covering your physical location, your customer messaging, your website maintenance, your human resources staffing situation, financing, any events and programs, each step along the way. And then again, you can just fall back into those plans with an institutional memory. And if you have those plans in place, you can also inform others on your team. And I've seen very, very detailed versions of these plans from different stores. And I've also seen simple Word documents that absolutely do the trick. So whatever fits your style, I would definitely encourage you to spend, 30 minutes to write these things down so that, if you have to refer to them again, you don't have to rethink and remember it all. And that's how I am able to sleep at night, is when I know I can find the resource somewhere. And that's, in fact, the whole premise for us of doing this little strategy session, is to show you examples, to show you where to find them and how to repeat them, so that we can have a really good fourth quarter. I think there's a lot of concern about, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And the fact of the matter is, we have to keep our eye on the ball. And if we can continue to remember that we are retailers, and that we can operate in a place of knowledge and a place of collective strength rather than fear, we will be okay. Those proactive stores are showing us that already. So I definitely encourage everyone to kind of, try to get yourself into that mindset through your plans.
I want to thank Rebecca for helping us with that plan. This is a great plan. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah. And I've noticed that there are a group of questions in the chat about bookshop and indie commerce and using those together. And, I don't have as much firsthand experience with running both platforms, but from an observation perspective, I can tell you that in the survey of stores that I did in your regions, I found many, many, many stores using both platforms quite successfully. And what I noticed to be the best case scenario was when the store realized they could sell different books to different customers through Bookshop than they could through their indie commerce store. And I think that's a lesson that I'm looking forward to applying in 2021 when it comes to understanding how to get new customers and understanding what those new customers want. So definitely a lot of stores are doing both. Again, there's positives and negatives. Our goal is to make sure that you see some really good examples and think about how you could apply them in your store. But definitely people are doing both. And then there's also a set of questions in the chat about those stores, who is open and who is not for general customer, show up and shop kind of stuff. There are a lot of stores operating by appointment only with success. And so if that's a good option for you and you're not doing that yet, I would definitely encourage you. And that was not part of our presentation, but no, there are a lot of stores operating successfully by appointment.
I know some stores have special hours for before they open for senior citizens, so that is also a good idea. But appointment, especially fourth quarter traffic, I know is going to be an issue, so appointment would be a great idea.
Yeah, and our experience in our store is 3,000 square feet. We were also offering before COVID, a 35-seat cafe. We had all kinds of health concerns for the different types of businesses. But one lesson that I learned was that it was a lot scarier to try to open than to be open. Once we got open, we were relieved to be able to do the work that we know how to do. And it was really scary to get there, to open the doors. But once we did, we knew we could trust our protocol and we could shine. We could do what we do, and our customers were so grateful for that. And we have had no cases in our store among our staff or our staff's families. And of course, masks are required, all of the distancing protocol in place. But I definitely would relate that experience. It was just far harder to get open than to be open. In the chat, looking at other questions and thoughts about managing foot traffic during Christmas. I think this is a real concern. I would encourage you to, seek the advice of your chamber or of your local government to see if they have any square footage requirements in our community. It's one person for every 28 square feet. So that allowed us to set a reasonable limit. But they also, you know, you're also able to set your own protocols for that. I think crowd control, gift wrapping, all those things need to be rethought. But again, we need to focus on sales and driving profit for our stores through this season. And so, you know, rather than getting wrapped up in all those details, I think making sure we focus on profit is really important. And I see we have the video set, so I'd love for everyone to be able to see this from Midtown Reader.
She closed her eyes, clapped her heels together 3 times. And you know what she said next. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Yep, that's the one. And that's the feeling that our customers have when they walk in our stores. We want them to be able to do that to support us through the fourth quarter. It really is what we do in a nutshell. I am so blown away by that. I still feel teary too. I see it in the comments. Everybody's seen it and we're all still crying, but that's how our customers feel about us. And we want to let them in the store. Let's see, do you have any other?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions that they haven't put it in the chat? Or
There's a lot in the chat, so I'm sorry, I'm sure I've missed things. Let's see. All right, here's a new one.
yeah, I'm looking to.
Yes, there's a reminder to save the chat, everyone. So yeah, please do that. And again, if we missed your question in the chat, feel free to post it. We still have a little time and I would love to talk with people. You know, PK and I are here to help. If you have a particular situation or segment of your business that you're trying to figure out what to do with for fourth quarter, I mean, please feel free to reach out to us. That's one of the things that both of us love to do, is to find creative solutions for people and to look at the numbers and help you understand if you can get to your goal or what you need to put into place in order to do that. Here's something. There was a question earlier about thoughts on January and February returns concerns. If we order big quantities for holiday season based on the supply chain concerns, and whether publishers will be able to you know, remove the maximums for returns or things like that. And I think back to PK's point, you know, you've got to be talking to your reps and your credit reps, your sales reps now about those concerns. And I think that keeping an open chain of command and like open communication around that is critical, so that there aren't big surprises if, you know, you take 300 of something and you end up having to close before you can sell any of them. What happens then to that returns percentage? I do think that publishers will, you know, work with us if we are good communicators about our concerns right up front. That's always been my approach.
And the other thing I notice is sometimes publishers are taking a little bit longer to credit for returns these days. So if you communicate with them, or maybe show them, send them the return invoice, or show them a FedEx or UPS you know, tracking number, they will let you deduct returns in transit. They do understand that they, it takes longer than, so you can take advantage of that as well. Use your returns to manage your cash.
Yeah. And, going into fourth quarter, we have the power from our POS systems and from Treeline and Edelweiss, if you are using those services, and through our websites to analyze the reporting. And for those of you who've ever attended any of PK and my sessions before, we're into the data. It tells you the story, and it points you in the direction of a solution. So dig in and learn from the past, not just this year, this hellacious year, but also from your past Christmas seasons, from your past fourth quarters, so that we can really soar, and we can really do what we need to do this fourth quarter. It is in your power, and you have a supportive group of people cheering for you, that's for sure.
The other thing I would mention is, in fourth quarter, I know I used to do a lot of emails, and why not let publishers subsidize those emails? You can use your remaining co-op dollars. I know some publishers give you quarterly payments. Some have additional for newsletter, and the co-op policies are in my worksheet, cash flow worksheet. So why not? Why leave any money on the table? This is a good time to collect all your co-op.
Yeah. Another income generator that we didn't explicitly mention, but that surrounds subscriptions and memberships, is to the pay up front or pay the annual option rather than the by month or by quarter option. So enabling that, especially at the holiday time, is a great way to increase your cash flow, because maybe not the rest of the year, people want to buy 12 months of books, but at Christmas time, they will. And so if you don't offer those options right now, you might consider that. Memberships as well, upping some of your membership and support options. This is very important. Co-op, some folks are using a co-op service as well. That's a great way to go if you don't have the bandwidth to do that on your staff. And Edelweiss 360 also offers co-op, they call it something different, but there is title specific money available. So if those titles fit into your themes and your campaigns that you're targeting and sending out, those do pay. And we've found a lot of different best practices for Edelweiss 360. You can do an entire session on it. There are those sessions available out there on their site, as well as I believe on BookWeb.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? I hope that we've helped to finalize some action plans for you. And I hope that you will all have a great fourth quarter, that you'll feel empowered to make it happen. And we're really looking forward to that.
Oh, actual link. Okay. I don't know if I can do that in the next 5 minutes, but I can. Somebody wanted an actual link of the cash flow.
Yeah, so the whole presentation, if we go back let's see if we can pull this up. If we go back to the slide right before this, and we click on the purple slideshow, top 10 things to keep in mind. Yep, double click on that, and let's see if we can get it open to
That is
maybe able to get it linked from here, and then people can see it or copy it.
Yes, when I practiced, it was there.
We may need to go out of full screen mode in order to do that, though, rather than so we can see the tabs up at the top. I'm not sure if that'll work. There we go. Oh, and someone may have just found the link on BookWeb in the chat here also.
I did post what I got when I double clicked. Is
Perfect. Great.
that right?
There it is.
Yep.
It's in the chat, everyone. The cash flow presentation is there. Great. Well, thank you all for attending, and we love you. We can't wait to see you again. It's so good to see your smiling faces here.
Thank you, and great success. We'll have a session next quarter, everything that worked.
Absolutely.